The debate of the port versus the PICC line rages on to the ages. So if you're in discussions about having a PICC line fitted, my advice would be to see what the possibility of having a Portacath fitted is. And the reason for that is they are far easier to manage. With a PICC line, you have to cover it over if you go to it. So if you go to have a shower, you've got to cover it up. If you go swimming, you can go swimming, but it's a pain in the arse and you have to cover it up. So you're always aware of it. That's another thing you notice. If you go to, depending on how you sleep, you can feel it. It doesn't hurt. So I'll say that it doesn't hurt, but you are aware of it a lot more than you're aware of having a Portacath. So PICC line goes in your arm and they stick a wire all through you to go above your heart. And a Portacath, they put it in about there. I think I'm getting that atomically. No, that's a nuclear bomb. Anyway, anatomically, there we go. Anatomically correct. They got it in there. Both operations have disgusting, horrific parts to it. So the PICC line, it's about half an hour, 45 minutes to go in, but you're awake for it, which is not a problem because you don't feel anything. The worst part about it is the injections to numb your arm up, and then as the surgeon will insert it in, you just feel a bit of pressure, so you don't really feel anything like that. And it's nice if they're talking to you, engaging you in conversation, because then it just flies by. And then after the procedure's finished, if you look over, because you don't see any of it, because there's a blood shield up and then it's all guarded, so you can't see anything that's happening. But if you then look at what's happening, Christ, it looks like a slasher film. There's blood everywhere, disgusting. With the Portacath, they cut into the neck, and then put another cut in there and then feed the wire all through. So again, you don't feel it. The procedure sounds worse than it actually is, and that can be done in as little as 25 minutes. You actually takes longer to prep you for the procedure than the procedure itself. As I said, with the PICC line, you're aware of it being there. With the Portacath, you completely forget it's there. And then with the Portacath, you can do everything you would normally do when it comes to water. So you can shower easy, have a bath, go swimming. You can do all of that. You can't necessarily see it without really looking at it or telling people it's there. They won't notice it's there, whereas the PICC line is all on show for everybody to see, and you have a bandage around it to cover it. The Portacath is under the skin, so you don't see it. The problem with a PICC line is it's so easy to clog. It's so easy to get blood clots in there, so if you don't get it flushed regularly with saline, it will clog up, and that has happened to me several times, which is why I've had two PICC lines, one in my right arm, one in my left arm, and they both came out because they just kept clogging. It was an absolute nightmare, and I'm on blood thinners, so that was a pain in the arse. The first time it clogged bad was on Christmas Eve, and I told that story in an earlier video, but that, for me, that just ruined Christmas Eve for me. I felt sick, but the fact that I had to spend the morning in A&E trying to get it unclogged, and they still couldn't get it unclogged, was horrible. But they've never had that problem with the Portacath. But here's the thing, I was never ever offered the Portacath as an option. It was the oncologist at the Manchester that said, "Oh no, we'll give you a Portacath for that. We'll do that for you," because it was far better procedure. It was far better to manage with than the PICC line. He hated PICC lines. He said a great bit of kit when they first came out, but medicine has moved on. So if you're now in discussions with your oncologist about having a PICC line fitted, ask the question, what is the chance of having a Portacath fitted instead? It's easier in every way, and it hardly ever clogs up. So that's the difference between a PICC line and a Portacath. I would choose a Portacath over everything every time if given the choice, which I was not at the time. See you in another video.